Welcome to Football Park. Today I'm joined by Henry Chung and Jake Cooper. All right, lads?
How you doing, mate?
Today we're going to be talking about QPR and their revival up the table under manager Marty Cifuentes. Now, I'll start by coming to you, Jake. Their start of the season, QPR, was undoubtedly terrible. They were rock bottom of the league just 10 games ago. Now they've gone, just one defeat in 11 games. How do you think they've gone about that?
I mean, well, you've got to look at the home form, to be fair. I mean, it's what, five wins on the spin at Loftus Road?
Yeah.
Against sort of teams like, I mean, Norwich have gone through a tough sort of patch. They got beat off Sunderland as well. But at the time, I think they were sort of like, I mean, they're always a team you'd expect like in and around the playoffs.
Definitely.
And then you beat Watford as well, who are, I mean, they were top of the league at one point, and they're still sort of like in the running for playoffs. So beat some good teams. So I definitely think the sort of like the home atmosphere, like the tight stands on top of the pitch, I think that's definitely helped.
Absolutely. Henry, obviously you're a Bournemouth fan yourself. Have you ever been to Loftus Road?
I've actually, yeah, went a few years ago now when we were in the Championship. It's a decent atmosphere. I like it as a stadium. It's proper four stands, proper ground that.
Yeah, 100%. Again, as you say there, Loftus Road, it's a ground where it's very tight. It's very easy to get good home form there, which is strange because QPR's home form in recent years has been terrible. And that's something that manager Marty Cifuentes said that he wanted to improve. And it looks like they're starting to do so now. Before their first this 5 home game winning streak, they hadn't won at home this season. But Jake, just how important do you think it is to get your home record good in a league like the Championship?
Well, it's really important because you've got so many big stadiums that you have to travel to, where if they've got the fans behind them, like the likes of Ellen Road and Stadium of Light, Bramall Lane, like it's so hard to go to places like that and pick up points. So you need your home. I mean, you need your home fans backing you, and when you've got a manager that you can believe in and players that you enjoy watching, the fans are going to get behind them, and that's obviously going to help the home form.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you mentioned players there. Just a few that have been excellent for QPR. They got a bit of criticism from their own supporters as well for their recruitment. It was very, very foreign-based. A lot of players that haven't played in the Championship before. Some of them haven't been so successful. The likes of Nicholas Madsen, who came in for £3 million, hasn't really done much. He's been mostly on the bench recently in this good run of form. But there has been some superb signings, one of which has been the goalkeeper, Paul Nardi, who has been excellent. I mean, just how good do you think he's been, Henry?
Yeah, I mean, goalkeeper's the main position. I think especially Steve Cook, a Bournemouth legend as such.
Of course, yeah.
He was really good for them, really important for them at the start of the season when they were struggling and not really getting results. He's been injured for quite a while now, and I think the goalkeeper's been a massive piece of that defence to keep them going strong and get into this run of form.
Definitely, yeah. As you said there, he's up there with stats. I know stats aren't everything. The eye test's important, but he's ranked 7th in the Championship for saves per 90. He's got the 8th highest save percentage as well. And for goals prevented, he ranks 6th. So he's performing amongst some of the best goalkeepers in the Championship. Jake, you're being a Sunderland fan, you know how important it is to have a good goalkeeper in net. How vital of a position do you think goalkeeper is in a league like the Champ?
Oh, really important. I mean, sort of the whole defence as well, I'd say. I mean, especially the goalkeeper, because I mean, if a player gets past the defence, you need to rely on your keeper to be a good shot stopper. And also in terms of like playing it out, if that's a football you want to play or kicking it long, he needs to have the ability to do that. So I think the keeper, along with the likes of Jimmy Dunn and, like you said, Steve Cook in defence, I think they've been vital to show, like, obviously we'll touch on the defensive stats, but QPR have been very good, a lot better defensively than they have been offensively, and I think that's been really important for them.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned there the defensive stats for QPR. Goals conceded wise, they are 12th. They sit 13th at the moment in the table, so that's pretty good. But XG4 for Queen's Park Rangers this season, they're 20th. So creativity wise, there's been a bit of an issue at the top end of the pitch, and that's been something really that they've been lacking for a couple of years. They haven't had a really 20-goal a season striker probably in the last 10 seasons.
No, a lot of reliance on Ilias Chair.
Massive. He recently played his 250th game for the club. But, I mean, Henry, you mentioned there, Jake mentioned how important it is to get someone at the top end of the pitch scoring goals. How important do you think that is if QPR do want to kick on, that one of their forwards starts to score frequently?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Ilias Chair, he's only started 8 games in the league this season, but he's come in sort of when their form has started hitting the run. He hasn't actually scored any, but I think just him being there in and around the team and sort of being a familiar point at the top end of the pitch for them. Because last season, near the end of the season, QPR were in good form, and I think that this was perhaps just a rut at the start of the season, and they've still got Marty Cifuentes there, who was obviously the manager last season when they were doing well. You've got Ilias Chair back now starting. You've got the bone of that team from last season. Perhaps they can start kicking on again and have some similar form.
100% there, yeah. I mean, there was a big turnover of players in the summer. The likes of Lyndon Dykes, long-serving player, young striker Sinclair Armstrong also left the club. And there was, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of players coming in from a foreign league. The Championship's a league like no other. And when you come into a league like the Championship from, you know, European leagues such as the Spanish second division, the German second division, we've seen that work really well in some cases, but we've also seen it not work. Why do you think that players do struggle with the Championship compared to those other European leagues?
Well, I think, like we said, obviously we've touched on the fans, and there's a lot of really intense support in the Championship, and that can, if a player doesn't perform for a big team or like a team with a big fan base, I mean, QPR have still got a big fan base as well, and if a player doesn't perform for a team like that, it's sink or swim really, and the good fans get on the back and they'll play poor, and I think that the physicality as well in the Championship is a lot different to some leagues, especially like European players who come over to a league that's a lot more physical than they used to. I think they can struggle.
Definitely. I think consistency as well is a massive thing. I mean, there's a lot of European leagues where you probably have 4 or 5 teams at the top end of the division. You look at such as the Danish league, the Swiss league, the Swedish league, where they'll have probably 10 or 11 or 12 gimme games a season where they might rack up the stats and score 2 or 3 or play really well defensively, keep clean sheets, whatever it may be. And in the Championship, you don't get that. Every team, I mean, obviously you get your 2 or 3 maybe at the top and you 1 or 2 at the bottom, but really the rest of the teams, anyone can beat anyone, and every player is sort of at a certain level. And I think that's probably why some of those players have struggled this season. But one player that hasn't struggled since being integrated and getting used to that is Jonathan Varane, half-brother of Raphael Varane. He is a holding midfielder, and defensively he's been unbelievable. Henry, just how important has Varane been for QPR this year?
Yeah, it's not surprising that he's good given the level of his brother.
Yeah.
Honestly, on and off the ball, it's so important to the side. Obviously, winning it back is so important, but I think where he excels is those long balls in transition for QPR. You know, they're not a massively possession dominant side, especially when they've been struggling. Having those long balls in transition to be able to get it up to the forward line has really been how they've got some of their goals in this run of form.
Yeah, definitely. And Varane has been, I mean, a number 6. You've seen how Manchester City have missed Rodri. A number 6 is integral now to the way that every football team plays. And Varane's coming into that role. He's been alongside plenty of energy in the likes of Sam Field, who goes around and puts out the fires for QPR. You've got young 18-year-old Kieran Morgan, who's really broken out this season and shown quality, especially winning man of the match in their last win against Luton at home. So that's a really successful midfield at the moment for QPR, and I think that's been integral to their run of form. Yeah. You mentioned possession there. QPR actually ranked 21st in the division for possession, only averaging 44%. Now, away from home especially is where QPR have tended to opt for a more cautious approach where they let the opposition have the ball. Do you think that's a mistake from QPR, given that they've only won sort of 2 games away from home this year?
Not necessarily. I mean, maybe you look at the results, and obviously football's a results-based game, and it doesn't matter whether you like the football or you don't like the football. Realistically, what matters at the end of the season is results. But I think, I mean, with players like Jonathan Varane, who can be so important, like you mentioned, with the long balls, I think it's just, you've got to find a clear identity on how you play. And if that's playing long balls and no possession, then that's how you have to play. And obviously, 21st in the league for possession. Where are they in the league? Like you said,
13th.
Yeah, mid-table, which is obviously higher than that. So it shows the possession isn't like the be-all and end-all in football.
It's not. Because you look in the Prem, you look at teams like Bournemouth, teams like Brighton, who they don't play possession styles and we play pressing football, and that's how you can get goals. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then it's a different question.
Yeah.
But
Well, you look at like Southampton and how they played under Russell
Yeah,
Martin, like
exactly,
so
yeah.
reliant on the
Yeah,
possession-based
absolutely.
football, and what did that get them? That's got them, what, 6 points so
Absolutely.
far or something
Yeah.
like that?
Possibly the
work
worst
out.
team in Premier League history.
Maybe.
But as you say, yeah, I think in the Championship as well, it's a league that the skill level of the players is nowhere near as high as the Premier League. We've seen that in recent years. And I think if you're trying to get players that aren't technically good enough, especially defenders, we see a lot of defenders in the Championship give the ball away in areas that lose goals for them, essentially. And I think that Marty Cifuentes has been good, showing that he's used the tools that he's got. I mean, we haven't even mentioned Jimmy Dunn, who's arguably been QPR's best player this season. He is the highest rated fullback out of the whole of the Championship. He's won the most aerial duels in the league, had the most shots and the most shots on target out of any fullback in the league. And most of them have been in the air. QPR use his aerial dominance so much, and they've got a long throw in and through every single corner as well. They always look to hit Jimmy Dunn's head, and he's won so many this year. Yeah. And you can say that's not pretty football. It's not Barcelona tiki-taka, but at the end of the day, he's got 4 goals this season. He's got 1 assist, and he's contributed to a number of points for Queen's Park Rangers. And I think that's testament to the way Cifuentes has been, because it would be very easy for a foreign manager to come in, especially, you know, he came under the Cruyff system, so he wants to play sort of possession football, but he's looked at the tools he's got and adapted, which is very, very good management style.
Definitely. I think, like, obviously, like we're talking about the lack of possession, I think having players that are aerially gifted is so important. And I mean, even Varane is really good in the air as well.
Yeah.
And so I think, like you say, it might not be the prettiest football, but it's got the results so far, and it's obviously steered QPR clear of the relegation zone, and that's the aim, isn't it, really?
Absolutely, yeah. Moving forward for QPR, they've actually got a game as we record this at the weekend against Leicester City in the FA Cup, chance for a potential upset.
Maybe.
Then they also travel to Plymouth and Hull City, both teams in the relegation zone. So their next 2 league games especially are both winnable, and they've just signed Ronnie Edwards on loan, which is a great signing from Southampton. He'll come in and bolster and sort of fill that Steve Cook void that was left through his injury. And things are looking up for Queen's Park Rangers. And if they continue the form they're on, you never know. They could even be a dark horse to sneak in that playoffs. I mean, it's unlikely, but
thought you might say that.
You know, stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. Steve Cook's played in a Nottingham Forest side that's done it before. So
true, yeah.
Stranger things have happened. But very good signs for QPR after a slow start. A lot of their key players have integrated in, and they're looking up now. And I think relegation trouble is a thing of the past. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, guys. Be sure to hit a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Drop any comments below. Let us know your thoughts on QPR or whoever you want to see us do a video on next. But thank you very much for watching. Take care.
Thank you.